if we started now, we would never had any success, because it's just we don't look right, we don't act right in a certain way. But because we've got established, it's different, because you have a sort of natural kind of charisma that surrounds you, so you can get away with it in a way that you couldn't do if you were starting off.
Yeah.
Tone B.
I don't know. He's stubborn. I mean, Tone has changed drastically. I mean, he's very relaxed these days.
Okay.
I'm digging a hole with 3 kids.
Well, no, I mean, in terms of what you bring music into the group, I mean, it's obviously Genesis is a combination of the three of us, and I think it's the kind of approach to chords and the approach to stringing chords together, if you like, that makes Tony very different from most other keyboard players, 99% of other keyboard players. And that's what is one of the main strengths, I think, of Genesis, and we've all got our strengths and weaknesses, and it's whatever those strengths are and some of the weaknesses that come together with Genesis that makes Genesis very different, like it or not, but it's very different from other bands,
When it comes to technique, there are many people in the world who are better than each of us are, really. I mean, I know very well a lot of things I can't do, that a lot of people I watch, some people and I think they're brilliant in terms of what they can do. But it is the approach to chords, I think, is the thing I understand perhaps in a way that, or at least I enjoy in a certain kind of way that other people perhaps don't go for so much. I'm very conscious of chords in a song and the way they work. And I'm always looking for kind of different chord groupings to get a different kind of effect. And I think it's one of the strengths of, it is one of the distinctive things of Genesis, put it like that, is the certain kind of chord changes. People say, that sounds like Genesis. Often what they're meaning, and they're probably meaning, they may be meaning the voice, they might mean the drum sound, but for some people it's very much those chord changes and certain kind of chord structures. But I always think of myself more as an accompanist, really. I'm there to try and enhance what the vocalist's doing, and most of the time that's what you're trying to do, make him sound good. I mean, that's half the job. If you're doing songs, is you don't want to necessarily distract too much. At times, sometimes in the past, I think perhaps we did distract too much from the voice, but I think these days, very much I see that as the role. Unless you're doing the lead stuff yourself, in which case then you can do what you like.
I mean, we enjoy each other's company. We make an album. We laugh a lot, which I think is very important. It stops any arguments, stops them feeling serious, and
Any order.
I think it's very difficult to talk about people when you're in their presence. It's different enough talking about them anyhow, I think it's easier to talk about musical strengths, really. I mean, I think the thing is that Mike, not being a kind of guitarist in the way that sort of Eric Clapton is a guitarist, in the sense that it means that he does things sometimes that are unorthodox. And I think it's that, really, that produces the strength. I think the whole thing about Genesis is because a lot of it is random. You're just trying things all the time. Now, if he just, every time I played a certain chord sequence, he slipped into a certain kind of style and solo and stuff, we'd end up with this music sounding kind of similar. But because Mike doesn't really play like that, he's going to try something different. He's more interested in making sort of noises and things like that, and being more original. And that, I think, is a great asset.
Music's the easiest thing in a sense. I mean, on this album, I think lyrically it's been a very strong contribution from Phil, and a lot of the songs have come, the melody lines have come from just improvising and jamming like we do. I think the singing is A, very good, and B, very natural. I think it's fab.
Yeah, I think Phil's good at improvising in a way, again, that's not necessarily orthodox, and that's the thing. It's coming out with lyrical lines. It's very easy to sort of, if I'm improvising lyrics, just something to play along with, it's very easy to come out with sort of, she's my baby. But to come out with something a little bit more different from that, it's that, I think, is great. And that's often can set the song off in a certain direction. If you come up with an atmospheric kind of phrase, it can be a very strong feature. And I think particularly songs like Dreaming While You Sleep, where that's sort of, it just sets you in a certain kind of area or whatever.
One of the other nice things about working in Genesis, with other musicians very often, it's good and it's bad, but sometimes you let them loose on a song and they go in a direction that's just really not where it should be. But that's the risk you take, But obviously, like with the drums, for example, he goes in there and we don't have a lot to say really most of the time, unless there's a bit of, what do you think, chaps?
Well, I mean, it is very hard, You pick subjects to talk about ourselves, which actually we're not used to talking about. I mean, I think I've changed a little bit from being just. I used to think of myself as, up until very recently, being a drummer that sings. And I think maybe the more I do, the more records I make, maybe I think of myself maybe as being more of a singer that drums, I guess. I mean, I still like playing the drums very much, but when I write lyrics and sing songs that I really am fully behind, then I kind of think, yes, maybe I am more of a singer. And I'm particularly proud of some of the, or pleased anyway, with some of the way the lyrics that I've been involved with on this album turned out, and I'm very happy with the singing. And, you know, it's been a very happy album to make, and a very easy album to make, which is, you know, some people would think is very, you know, odd, because the fact that everyone always pinpoints the fact we've had so much success on your own. Why, you know? And the reason is because the three of us do something that we can't do individually. And when it turns out to be ending up so strong, that is a really good reason, you know, for staying together.
It may not be how people perceive it, but I think internally in the band we do think of the songs as being perhaps 80% music. I mean, that's how we view it, I think. That's what we spend all the time on getting. And once we've got the music done, then we divide the lyrics up between the three of us. On this particular album, because Phil had quite a lot of improvised things he'd done while we were rehearsing, he ended up writing about 50% of the lyrics, and Mike and I shared the other 50%.
Never a Time, for example, was Mike's lyric, and you mentioned that earlier. Hold on My Heart is one of mine, which is, you know, trying to get a different look on a situation, which is a man talking to himself, saying, holding on to his feelings.
Yeah.
And the other ballad, Since I Lost You, is actually isn't about a relationship. It's about, in fact, the lyric was about Eric Clapton's song. So it's a totally different type of love story.
I think we're totally on our own. I always felt that right from the beginning. We don't sort of, we never kind of seem to affect it or be affected by it particularly. I think we just carry on a bit on a parallel course. I mean, you know, English pop music I think is going through a fairly sort of, I mean, there's some good people there as well, but there's an awful lot of dead wood and stuff, and a lot of things that just don't interest us so much. You know, we talked about dance and rap, but that's most of the chart, you know. I really can't listen to pop radio in England for more than 2 or 3 songs. And I've tried recently because I want to hear our song on the radio. I still haven't managed yet because I'd get so bogged down by what's happening before it. It just doesn't appeal to me. I just find it too... There comes a point when as you get older, you've kind of heard it all, really. And what you're listening for is the odd person who manages to find something new to do with the format. And so you find yourself going back to certain people that you've liked for a while, you know. I mean, whether it be sort of Sting or Kate Bush or, I don't know, Nick Kershaw in my case, people like that, who perhaps are doing things slightly differently. And that's the sort of thing you listen to. So you're not very much up with the contemporary thing. And I don't think that... You know, it's very difficult to see your own effect. I don't think the groups have much effect on most of what you hear either.
I think this kind of started with Tony sampling a little bit of Mike's guitar, random guitar playing, and fooling around on the emulator, and getting a sound which is on the record, the sound that sounds like an elephant trumpeting. And that was the working title, in fact, Elephant, because that gave us something to go back to and say, the thing that sounded like the elephant, let's do that. And Tony started playing chords that went with that sample. And then we, you know, Mike started going, jing, 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 jing. And I started singing, and then ultimately, you know, 2 months later, you get sort of what ends up being No Son of Mine. I mean, we all just sort of add a little bit as we go along, you know. And the lyric of the song is, I think it's pretty